This is everything I wish I knew before about Hiki Waza. I don't think myself as someone that's good at Hiki Waza, but all the tips that I'm gonna be sharing with you today has been advice and tips that I've done that have helped me make it more comfortable for me to understand better the timing, the distance, and also make it useful for shiai. I'm gonna tell you some of the things you want to avoid and some things you want to do, but everything connects with each other. So let me know if you think I missed something or if you do things a little bit different that I'm going to share today. The first problem with Hiki Waza is that if you don't feel comfortable doing it, most likely you're going to neglect it. So the first tip is actually practice it. During your basics, try to put some time on Hiki Waza, and during your Jigo, avoid those times where you kind of come into a shiai and then you just calmly walk back. Find a way to put your body and set it up for Hiki Waza, because for me at least, that has been one of the biggest problems, that maybe I can do Hiki Waza during Kihon, but finding the right position during Jigo tends to be a little bit of a challenge. So if you don't practice that specifically, then you're not gonna get really good at doing Hiki Waza. During your Suba shiai, a couple things to keep in mind is that you want to have good stability. You don't want to lean towards your opponent. You want to have pretty much the same setup as you have in Kamae, with the ability to go backwards or forward if you need to. You shouldn't be too heavy on your foot forward. You should have a little bit more of a neutral position and more of your weight on your back leg. I want to kind of keep myself ready to go backwards, but at the same time, keep my back leg engaged in case I have to go forward. For your hands, if your hands are too high, you are going to lose stability. If your hands are too forward, again, you're also going to lose stability. If your hands are too close, you're not going to have mobility. So ideally, you want to have your hands the same as you will have them in Kamae. So if your Kamae is right here, pretty much for Suba shiai, you want to be right here with a little bit of space to move, but at the same time, keeping your balance and also keeping your arms relaxed. You want to keep tension against your opponent's shinai. You want to try to keep the center, and it's very important you keep your palm on top of the shinai rather than the side. But to keep that tension, instead of pushing with your right arm, for me, it works a lot to keep my tension with my left hand. So if I'm in Suba shiai here, for example, instead of pushing with my right arm, I'm keeping the stability with my left hand. So that way, this hand is a little bit more free to move around if I need to, and I don't have to relax it before I have to tense it again to push. You want to keep in mind that if you're always pushing with your right hand, if you relax right before you move, your opponent might get a hint that you're about to do something. So that's something that I like to try to avoid. Depending on your opponent, when you push, you're gonna get different reactions, whether they go back, they stay, they move forward. And one thing that you can do to help you adjust that distance is where and how you do your fumikomi as you're going backwards. Let me try to break down Hiki Waza so you can understand the dynamic of it. You want to have the hands at the right position, not too high, and you don't want to be too far away from yourself. You don't want the hands to be too close for yourself either. You don't push your opponent, you push yourself off. I can do it in two ways. I can start moving my leg before I push to start creating a little bit of distance. Then I can push. Then I can do my fumikomi to attack. Another way of doing it, if you don't move this leg, you can start pushing yourself off, and then the fumikomi leg can come back to do the fumikomi. The hands, personally, I like to try to keep contact with my opponent's hands as long as possible, and then start getting into the position of striking, so that way when I'm at that distance, I can actually bring the tip down and do my technique. If the opponent goes back, it's a little bit easier because then you can do the fumikomi in that distance, in that spot. But if they don't, or if they come forward, you can make that extra distance by bringing that forward leg back. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, let me know down in the comments. Yeah. It goes without saying that the same as going forward applies to going back. You want to move your body first before you move your shinai. start that motion, start creating that distance, and then explode right at the moment of the impact, rather than moving the shiai and then trying to get away from your opponent. Your arms during super shiai should be firm, but at the same time, you should have relaxation in your body. Shouldn't be tense, you shouldn't be trying to overpower your opponent. You should try to always find the center and communicate with your opponent, and then when you're ready is when you should push off to make that distance. This is something you can actually practice at home. You can get, for example, a wall. I have one here. You can learn the position of suba shiai here, that push, learn to push yourself off, and then try to put that together with the timing where you push off. Good posture, you push off, and fumikomi. Your footwork should be light, and you should be able to move sideways, forward, or backwards. A lot of times, especially when we engage into suba shiai, going straight back might not be the best way to get that Hiki Waza. Instead, maybe you need to kind of go a little bit sideways and then go back. Now, after you push, you have to do your strike. A big mistake people do is kind of trying to like scoop down or raise too high to then bring the shiai kind of down and kind of pull in. Instead, what you should do is practice just the same way as it would be small men, right? Now, when you're going backwards, what's going to happen is you're going to extend your hands. Then from here, you can get your attack. Of course, there are many ways that you can do this. The way for straightforward men that I like to do is that I like to push off, trying to keep my wrist relaxed, trying to keep my hands on top of my shiai. And after I push, that I'm making my distance, then I execute my technique. So instead of pushing down, instead of like overpowering or going too high and coming down, I just try to make it as relaxed and efficient as possible, where I push off as I'm going backwards and then I hit. After you hit that man, of course, you have to pull your shiai back and go backwards fast as possible, so that way you avoid getting hit, a person kind of just chasing you and then hitting you, so that you can make your distance and be ready to attack again or to re-engage into the fight. Remember, you want to practice this as much as possible, trying to understand how to set your body as soon as you do taiyatari. Set up your body to be ready to go for a Hiki Waza and be light on your feet so you can execute it as quick as possible. If you found something useful from this video, remember to please subscribe to the channel and let me know in your comments what questions you have. Another thing you need to remember is that Hiki Waza doesn't require suba shiai or taiyatari. So for example, as your opponent is coming, deflecting, and doing Hiki Waza, you have to be ready. You have to learn how to move your body forward and backwards, be relaxed, and be able to change directions anytime. If you want to keep practicing and improving your kendo, maybe you want to check out this video next. Thank you very much for watching.